There we are. We are live. Welcome to Big D After Dark. It's been a while. It's been a while.
It certainly has.
It's good to see your face, Jose.
Has good seers too.
And if you're joining us, I hope you are. I hope some folks, some viewers come scraggling along to talk FC Dallas. I know there are other things going on around the world. There's some kind of political convention happening right now that some people may be watching. But come
That's
on.
that's true.
What life choices are you making? If you don't want to talk about FC Dallas soccer, and my mic is a little hot. All right. So, hey, if you're watching, if you're joining us, please send in a comment, a reaction, ask your questions. We will post them here live and talk about them. We got a good slate of things to talk about. Our regular guy, by the way. Well, let's do our introductions here. Of course, I'm Nathan Hill, the host of this little thing, and you can follow me at Nathan J Hill on Twitter. Ben Lyon is usually with us. He's at Bird Turgler, but he is working like 5 jobs right now. He is grinding it out. So he said he's going to be late, so he got detained. We don't know what's going on. He's an important guy. So as soon as he gets in, we'll try to weave him into the chat here and get his conversation in. It could be at any minute. And then finally there he is, Jose Carmona at El Chico Carmona. Back wearing his, I forgot I was going to put on an FC Dallas shirt, but oh well. All right. You did. You did a good job here. You look good in that kit there.
I
Well,
like it.
let's get right into it. I know it's been a pandemic weirdness. Everything has turned upside down, but we finally had soccer back in action and
Much needed.
much needed. I didn't really watch much of the MLS is back tournament. Jose, did you watch?
I watched some of the Orlando games, not all of them, but just enough.
Yeah, I mean, I thought like morning games, I thought it was going to be great. Of course, I had some life events, but I just couldn't get back into it without FC Dallas. I was able to sort of put it in the background.
I was more excited for the North Texas SC games, really.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
so
good, yeah. As am I. So that's good. So, MLS back didn't necessarily get us going, but it was good to have FC Dallas back in action this week. And so we're going to start right there. And we know you might have some hot takes. You might have some responses, reactions, because frankly, this is not how we wanted this season to get started again for FC Dallas. 2 games at home against expansion side Nashville SC, and a loss and a draw at home, 1 point in 2 matches. What does this mean for FC Dallas?
what it means is that they're just in preseason form where they should be. The hard truth, watching the games, and basically all the fans getting kicked in the nuts to realize that the team needs time to get going, and let's face it, everybody saw the 2 matches against Nashville, eventually 3 as home run wins across the board. We're much better than Nashville. We should just you know kick them in the nuts and take their lunch money. But that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
What happened is you saw that there was no separation between the teams. There wasn't. There was nothing. Dallas on paper we were like, oh, they got the much better talent and a much deeper team. But in reality, there really wasn't anything to separate the teams other than the fact that Nashville simply was more organized and more. They just seemed more prepared, just a little more fire. I think they truly embraced the fact that they were the underdogs and were expected to lose. So they played like a team that had nothing to lose. They stayed compact,
Yeah.
and they allowed FC Dallas to beat itself. You know, and it was, when you think about it, the fact that they were able to just sit back, play defense, and basically pounce on any mistake that Dallas did, which were numerous, made them look like the smarter team. In all honesty, the more prepared team. That's the way it looks like. But a lot of that has to do with the fact that all the FCD fans expected more.
Yeah.
We did, and that's not what we got. In the first game, we got a team that looked in early preseason form, not even
Right.
not even mid preseason form.
Right.
They looked slow. Their passes, they looked lethargic. There didn't seem to be any fire there. So it was a huge disappointment. And in my opinion, if you look at both games, I feel Dallas was unlucky to lose the first game 1-0 and lucky not to lose the second game 1-0.
That's right.
So somehow I would have expected the
Yeah.
Wednesday match to be a 0-0 match because it was a stinker. I mean, that's the way it played.
You're right. So,
And then
well, like this 5-3-2 that Luchi came out with on Wednesday night, it was this a case of a coach overthinking a long break? Was this a coach wanting to be sure they came out with a strong defense, knowing that maybe the team wasn't looking so hot yet? Was it? Was he over? We don't know what was going on in Coach Luchi's head. They obviously had practiced
I think
it.
there was a big hint. I think there was a big hint that he was seeing that uneven play, and maybe had he gone with a 4-3-3, the play on Wednesday might have been much worse. We don't know, but I mean, clearly he knew. It looks like he's mixing and matching, trying to find that right combination.
Right.
Just like you would when you play the preseason games.
You mix it up, and we had the new face getting his. Frank O'Hara. He started, I believe, both games, and of course it takes time. This is normally in MLS a mid-season acquisition. Those kinds of acquisitions don't often make a huge impact because it takes them 2 months to sort of get up to MLS play, physicality, and things. We thought he was going to come in hot, and he looks like he's getting to know this team.
I actually did not expect him to come in hot like everybody else. I mean, if we read all the reports coming out of practice, stuff like that, it was indicated that he was not in game shape, that he was not, hadn't worked himself into the team. So for me personally, I thought it was a huge surprise for me that he actually started, the first game and then started the second game because he didn't actually look that great. And my take on that is this: Luchi simply, biting the bullet and saying, hey, if this guy is going to become a central figure of this team, then we need to get him on the field with the players, getting that chemistry built so that down the stretch he'll get hot. So I'm thinking that's what it is. I mean, let's face it. How is he going to get that chemistry if he's not on the field with the team?
Right.
And clearly he's like the rest. I don't say the rest of the team. Some players looked to be further along than other players, and so what we got was huge stretches of disjointed play where the team would look good for a minute or two and then look completely horrible, depending on which players were involved. And that's something that, I mean, it has to be maddening for Luchi to game plan and then basically have some players look to know what they look like they know what they're doing, and not be able to still execute. And then you have some players that were out there, I don't know, basically they seem to be out of sorts or maybe out of position or it just seemed like, Keystone Cops out there with the ball at their feet. So,
Well,
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, because the 5-3-2 has a history for FC Dallas, and it's not often been very productive for them. And so going back to the 4-4-3 on Sunday night, it was better. There was more energy. It was still a weird day, a rain delay, but the team definitely came out with more urgency. There were maybe a couple of more opportunities that they were able to generate, but for large portions of the game, it was still a team that just looked like they didn't know each other. Like they didn't know what was where to be or where to expect each other to be. We just have a lot of questions lingering after these two matches.
And that urgency, we all saw it in the second game. We all saw the urgency, and I myself, on first take, thought that was better play by the team because I wanted that urgency. But then you go and take a look at it. I rewatched it again, and then you see that that's not the case. They played with better urgency, better pace, but they still made just as many mistakes as they did in the first match. And Nashville played like a team that had won. They played in the second game. They played with confidence. A ton of confidence, and it showed. And they basically knew that Dallas was going to struggle, and they tried to take advantage of it.
Jose. This is what teams who they've figured out Dallas in the past. They do. They figure out that give Dallas the ball. Give them the ball. Let them circulate among the center backs and, back to the goalkeeper force them to do something creative to break them down. Because FC Dallas has struggled at times. If Paxton Pomacall's not on the field, or if he's not 100%, or if Barrios can't do something amazing, or if they don't get a bounce their way, some of those games have been dreadful to watch as FC Dallas has taken listless shots on goal from 30 yards out. And that just doesn't win many games. And so in some ways, Nashville showed the blueprint once again, which also explains why FC Dallas is going out trying to get a creator on this roster.
And, and at first when people heard about the fact that they're trying to, they were trying to add a creator, a lot of people were like, why? Why do we need that guy? We have plenty of midfielders. Well, they're not asking that after the 2 games against Nashville. Now, everybody understands why the team wanted to go out and get a guy that frankly, if it wasn't for what's going on around the world right now, Dallas doesn't normally get that guy. Mm-hmm. They got that guy because the market is down. They got a huge discount on it. You got a team that was willing to basically offload a guy that they were paying a lot of money to, and willing to take far less than they normally would have. So yay, that works for Dallas in Dallas' favor. And I want to add, by the way, that could be a trend that we see for MLS. This could be a very strong summer of additions. We already saw the ridiculous signing by Inter Miami already. Mm-hmm. So this is maybe a boon, yay for Dallas, but other teams are going to also profit. So it's not going to help Dallas separate from the rest of the league because the rest of the league is elevating their talent along with them. So, yay, it's good for MLS, is what I'm saying.
Well, thanks for adding that flavor, that context there, because it's important to understand how we landed him. And so, FC Dallas fans have complained for a long time, but in a relatively short amount of time, added 2 offensive, capable players with pedigree, with history, and these aren't guys who maybe are ready to take the next step. These are guys who have shown success and consistency, right? And
they're when's the last time you had essentially back-to-back big signings, and only one of them's a DP, if I understand this correctly,
right?
So
it's exciting. So FC Dallas fans, for those of you watching it now, you joining us now, or those of you who are going to go back and watch this later, we hope you are. I know we're complaining. I saw the complaints after this match, and I felt pretty awful, especially staying up that late Sunday morning here in East Coast. It was Monday morning or whatever. So, I know it's frustrating to see this team seem to take a step back, but it is. It felt like this team is in preseason form. Maybe in a couple of weeks we'll be looking different, and hopefully they will be. But let's move on. Let's move on to the next.
When's the next game? It's Houston, isn't it?
Yes, Friday.
Okay.
Right.
Hey, beat Houston, and when they travel to Nashville, win that game, and I may be able to forgive them for these 2 games.
All right, good.
So as far as I'm concerned, beat Houston and maybe get everybody out of this sudden panic mode that all the fans are finding themselves in.
Yeah. Of course, there's a lot that happened this week, too, and that's why we do want to take a moment and talk about Reggie Cannon and Fafa Pico's leadership here, as well as others, including Jimmy Moore and others, making statements here to say, to stand in solidarity with the movement for Black Lives, to say Black Lives Matter. And so was one of the things that happened. So Frisco, FC Dallas was one of the only venue in Major League Soccer to welcome fans. That we'll talk about that in a minute. So that happened, and so of course then there's an anthem played, and the players kneel in solidarity. And while I think the majority of the fans there were respectful, and many in solidarity too, there were some who booed. There may have been a water bottle or a beer bottle thrown on the field. So Reggie talked about this, and so we're going to jump over to that real quick here. And let me pull it up, and we will hear. Sorry about that. All right, there we go. We're going to hear Reggie.
I think it was disgusting. I think it was absolutely disgusting. You got fans booing you for people taking a stand for what they believe in when millions of other people support this cause. And we've discussed with every other team and the league what we're going to do. And we got fans booing us in our own stadium. How disgraceful is that? Honestly, for a lack of a better word, it pissed me off. We discussed that prior to what we were doing. We discussed it with Nashville. Everyone from Nashville was on board. Everyone across the league was on board with what we're going to do. We asked for no anthem because we don't feel it was right for the anthem to be played at this moment. They ignored our wishes. So we were going to kneel regardless if the anthem was played or not. But unfortunately, it was played during these times where we asked for an anthem not to be played, and it pissed me off that you can't even have support from your own fans in your own stadium. It's baffling to me. As a team, we try to give the best possible product on that field, and these last 6 months have been absolute hell for us. Absolute hell. Because we have to watch other people play soccer, and we're just sitting at home, unfortunately, contracting COVID from the unfortunate situations that we were put in. And an opportunity presented itself to play tonight, and unfortunately, we're mad and upset not to get the win. But I was pissed. Everyone around me was pissed. Ryan Hollingshead, the first thing he said to me after we got up off the knee, he said, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry for our fans." Because we had someone chanting USA when they don't understand what kneeling means. They don't understand why we're kneeling. They can't see the reason. They just think we're the ignorant ones, and it's incredibly frustrating. I'm sorry to have this tone, but you have to call it for what it is. I even knew when we decided to kneel, I knew it was going to happen. I had a feeling that should tell you guys something, that I knew we were gonna have some negative pushback from having a unified response over what's going on. That's the problem. That's a problem. And
Let's leave it there. All right. Yeah. So he's an amazing guy. I just have deep respect for Reggie. And Fafa has shared stories of his experiences, of encounters with law enforcement, and they've shared some of their experiences living in this country, and along with other soccer players, other athletes from around the world. It's been an amazing time to hear and to listen to other experiences, and so then I get his anger and his frustration. When you try to stand in solidarity, you ask for it to be done a certain way. Who messed up, or the league messed up, ownership, whatever, as well as fans, and some fans, I don't want to say all fans, but some fans making a mess out of it, and how frustrating it might have been that night to go out and say, now I got to perform for these fans who seem to not necessarily be in line with this statement, this for dignity, for wholeness, for respect, for equality. That's all I'm asking for. I mean, that's so. Just give props to Reggie and for his voice on this, and it's been a sort of little firestorm with fans and things. There's been a lot of debate on the website on Big D Soccer and other places. I mean, what an interesting time. But I'm kind of grateful for it. Grateful for Reggie's sticking up for himself and his teammates.
My take on this is that, I've said it to you guys, is that controversy sells, and I am not surprised that MLS kind of overrode the club and the players. because let's face it, that's all everybody was talking about. No one was talking about how, lethargic and the team looked, and how really a bore fest the first game was. All everyone was talking about was the kneeling and the national anthem, and controversy sells, and the stories are, and they're not just talking about it on Big D. It's everywhere, social media, worldwide. It's huge news, and the fact that one of our youngest players is the guy that basically stepped forward, spoke his mind, and didn't hold back and showed some leadership. Really, you got one of the youngest players going out there, and it's not surprising to me that the phones then started ringing for Dallas, because all of a sudden several teams said, you've got, let's face it, Reggie Can's a young, talented running backs, but there are many talented young running backs. How do you separate from the pack? That basically got attention. People said, hey, we want up there. I'm just saying, I know some people feel one way or the other for how about Black Lives Matter, but there were teams out there that were saying, we want that. What he brings to the table, that's something we didn't know he had. He was front and center. He accepted the fact that he'd be a lightning rod for conversation. He embraced it. He did not shy about it. He showed leadership and poise, and whether you agree with it or not, some teams out there took notice and said, we want that. And another thing I want to add is, with the pandemic and everything going around the world, every team is going to have to bite the bullet and accept far less for a player that they're selling, and I have to guess that the Hunts are doing the same for Cannon. They're accepting far less than what they initially wanted, and that's good for Reggie, and that's a good sign hopefully for Paxton and stuff. And let's face it, if you need the revenue, you're not getting the fans. You got a shortened season. You got to find ways. And you're bringing in some revenue, even though it's not what you wanted. This is something that's going to repeat itself around the world. There's a lot of teams that are going to have to bite the bullet and simply, take half what they wanted, 2/3 less than what they wanted, because at least you're getting money coming in instead of sitting there going, how are we going to raise money with no fans? So I'm very happy to see that hopefully Reggie's on the move, and it's a good sign for some of the other homegrowns that maybe the Hunts will be willing to take less, and get them moving.
Right. And so, that you moved right into our next topic, which is Reggie heading east. And I just want to say to Reggie, because I know you're watching, Reggie, I know you follow After Dark and you read everything on Big D Soccer. I just admire you. We stand with you. Black Lives Matter. You matter on the Twitter, the clip I shared from Black Players for Change. They have that video clip. Go watch it and go look at the whole thread, because they show some of the ridiculous, outrageous, vile comments that people posted in response to what Reggie did.
I've started blocking people on Twitter left and right.
I did too, and I mean, some of the sentiment from even some FCS fans is that, you're an athlete, we're paying to watch you just shut up and play, that kind of thing. But this is always a reminder: these athletes are human beings, and they deserve dignity and respect. They do not dance for us. We are privileged to watch them and cheer them on, and groan with them and struggle. It's a gift. It's a gift that they do it, because they don't have to do it. And so, and Reggie is probably heading east. The rumors are growing rapidly. Barnsley was early on in the championship, but it sounds like they were quickly rebuffed. They just didn't have the cash to lay out.
Another thing on that is, I'm hearing that Reggie had a say on where he wanted to go. So it could also be, I'm not saying that Barnsley did make a good, compelling offer. It could also have been, and I don't know this.
Right.
I'm just stuff I'm hearing is it could, and a lot of people were saying that wasn't really a good move for him, and Reggie may have actually nixed that deal. He does have some say as to where he goes, so
that's good.
He's not going to go to some team that it's going to be a lateral move or not forward his stock. You know, he's going
Hmm.
to want to go to a team where he'll get noticed, or even if he is not the main guy, he compete and unseat somebody to get noticed.
Yeah.
So he has some say where he's going, and wherever he ends up, it'll have been, I'm sure he'll have had the say on him being there.
I mean, I didn't mind the idea of Barnsley if they were, if there's a place where he was gonna, be able to really help a team battle because he can battle. But I know there, if you have other choices, you know, I think it's a town about 90,000 people. What I heard on the broadcast of the night, so maybe not the largest metropolis. And so if he has options to go to France or Portugal, that might be a better thing for him to wait out for.
Yeah, the thing with Barnsley is their style of play, and you ask their fans, and they say, yeah, we just asked our fullbacks to, our right backs to just sit back and defend, So is that, while they do have a good reputation of selling uh, their players, you still have to wonder, a player like Reggie saying, I don't really want to just go and be asked to be one dimensional. That's not going to play to my strengths. So, and um, the big rumor going on right now, and I don't know who started it, but I've heard it repeated, multiple places, is that he's gonna he's gonna be playing in France, or having to learn French or something along those lines, and that could mean several things. I mean, people assume it means he's going to League One. He could also be going to League Two. He could also be
Hmm.
going to Belgium. It doesn't really narrow it, and kudos to Dallas and whatever teams they're dealing with. Uh, it's been like there's no leakage anywhere. It's going to be a surprise. It's going to be like you're going to wake up tomorrow or the day after and like, boom, Reggie is joining this team.
Hmm.
And mind you, if it's League One, their season starts on Friday. So my money is on League One because their season starts this week, and there's some teams, I don't know too much about League One, but I know that there's some teams that are probably going to be losing starters in, in that position before the weekend, and are going to be scrambling to replace. So I'm sure there's teams that are in the process of losing a starter and looking for a starter simultaneously, and I think that's it's like a domino effect sort of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's an exciting time for Reggie. We wish him the best. There was a sense, kind of a rumor that this past Sunday would be his last game. And at least one fan posted on Twitter that when he came over to um, okay, are we getting a call here from Ben? Let's see if he will join. Wait, something's going on. I lost. All right, folks, we apparently lost Jose. Don't have any idea what happened there. Okay, there we go. We should be back. Ben? No, Jose? Well, folks, this is what we do in the live stream world. We make it up as we go along sometimes. Because. Well, good. We're good. We're good. I'm going to move on here while I try to figure out what is going on. Um, I lost Ben, lost Jose. Trying to have them rejoin here. Um, and
Hey,
there we go.
so Ben called me for some reason, and I answered, and it put you on hold. So my
Right, and
apologies for that.
and he was trying to call us, and it included. So earlier, I made a mistake, and I included Bobby Warshaw on the call, and Bobby was our last guest before we went on break. I don't think Bobby is prepared to speak to us tonight, and so I'm trying to
Probably
add
wondering
Ben. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll keep doing that as we move forward. Yeah. So the big thing will be who replaces Reggie. I mean, the Twitter feed said that when Reggie came over to the to where some of the fans had gathered at the end of the game, it felt like a finality. Some of the things he said, it was all but that spoken, kind of a thing that he is moving on.
So I think a lot of us expect Ryan Hollingshead to move to right back, and then either have Nelson play left back, or uh, Ziegler moves to left back. Um, it'll be interesting. I think it'll be something along those lines, some combination of that. But you have to think that if you're losing a player at right back, and let's face it, we don't know who is Brisson then the backup to Hollingshead at right back, or what. So you have to assume that they're gonna probably have to add somebody. So there's like the perfect time to replace a homegrown with a homegrown. That's my guess. Is they're gonna add somebody. You know, I'm trying to think who's looked good in North Texas at position, and it's Che's the only guy I can think of.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't know. I'm not. I'm just spitballing here, but I'm just saying Che's looked good at running back, but they don't.
Well, you keep saying running back, Jose. Tonight you said it a couple of times.
Sorry.
That's all right. You're getting the preseason mode.
Right back. At right back, but they want Che at center back, so probably not him. I mean, I don't know. Might not even be a right back that they added. I expect a homegrown to be signed of some kind.
Well, it looks like we have been finally joined by the legend himself, Ben Lyon. Ben, are you there? Can you hear us?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Oh, you sound great. We don't see your face. We see the glowing Skype logo. But that's fine.
Yeah, that's gonna have to do it tonight because I've had so many technical issues. And might I say, your beard looks great, Rev.
Thank
so
you.
Does yours, Jose. I'm in honestly like the odd position of having the shortest facial hair amongst us right now. I wish I had video to prove it. You're just gonna have to take my word for it, though.
Hey guys, I want to add one more thing since I was talking about FC Dallas probably signing a homegrown or something. Here's something no one's talking about. College soccer season's pretty much been canceled. So there's some FC Dallas players that academy players that are not going to be playing, and I wouldn't be surprised if North Texas or FC Dallas sign a couple of these guys, because let's face it, they're not going to be playing college soccer this year. So that's something I'm curious about.
Yeah, that's a good wrinkle. Yeah, I'll be thinking about doing a story on the site later about that right back position, because we have Brian Riddles, we have Eddie Munjoma who can step in there. Yep. They're young. It would be learning on the job. It'd be growing up, but they want to play the kids. That's it. And then you keep Ryan Hollingshead at left back, which would really help that left back scenario because he's pretty good there. He's very solid. But yeah, he moves to right, and yeah, I don't think Nelson really super impressed on Sunday night. He was okay. He was serviceable. Maybe he'll grow. He's young, but there's a lot of questions.
There was a lot of players that did not impress.
He wasn't alone.
I don't want to single out Nelson.
That's right.
It was more than one guy that didn't impress.
Yeah, John Nelson, if you're watching this, we love you. That wasn't, you can come on the show anytime you want. All right. Ben, we have run through the flux of comments, the flow of comments tonight. We have talked about a variety of things. So, what did you learn from these past two games with FC Dallas back in action?
I learned that we're in the dog days of summer, and the team looks like it. It didn't look particularly exciting either two games. They look like a mismatched collection of parts at this point in time. But, I talked myself down off the ledge last night and harkened back to the beginning of last year, where, they weren't creating a whole lot of chances. And, I mean, it's kind of like that. It's basically new coach 2.0 with the group, and then also with the build up in the concepts that Luchi wants to have his team present. So it stinks. It's probably the lesser of the two expansion teams, and getting outplayed by Nashville basically in over two games is just. I mean, like, the only thing that you can take positive from it is that there is at least a previous history of it taking a little bit of time for everything to mesh in the Luchi system, and I mean, hopefully that happens pretty quick.
Ben, was it a mistake in your mind for FC Dallas to welcome fans, to be the only Major League Soccer team to have fans back in the stadium?
I don't know if mistake is the right word. I mean, it was a risk, and it's not like the club made a whole lot of money on it. But there are things that can be taken from having public events again like that. How are you going to handle dealing with a lot of people? During a pandemic, as far as keeping the players safe and your fellow fans safe and all that, and actually, the stadium is probably a good place to do that. So I mean, like, I don't know about mistake. It was a risk, and hopefully they learned some interesting things from it. The interesting thing that I learned from it is something that I already knew, which is that they should not play the national anthem at professional sporting events in the United States, because it's just fraught with all kinds of idiocy.
Right.
Can I add something on that? By the way, while Dallas may be the first MLS team to have crowds, the lower leagues have been having crowds. USL Championship has been having crowds. USL League One has been having crowds, and they've been kneeling during the national anthem, and you haven't had any actual outrage like what happened in Dallas. I mean, I'm thinking back. I've seen several games. I'm actually a big fan of USL League One, and I simulcast 2 or 3 USL League One games at a time, and they have the kneeling. The Black Lives Matter. They kneel. And nothing like this has arisen once. So people knew this match was going to be televised nationally, and that had something to do with that, I think.
Someone should do some investigation over why there might be a response in a place called Texas.
I would speculate that it's not even like Texas. It's Frisco. It's the suburbs. There's your share of Limbaugh and Levin listeners there that have been fired up for the past 20 years for reasons they don't even understand.
Yeah.
And
those people in the suburbs who are victims, right? There's the victims.
Right? Yeah. No, they've drawn the short straw in life, and can't believe BLM has been keeping them down all this time.
Didn't ask them that Reggie didn't call them up and personally get their advice for how to protest correctly in a way that would not earn their ire, but whatever. Although,
right. I just want to say this, like, the whole genesis of the kneeling protest, I mean, that was the idea of Colin Kaepernick's teammate, who was a former Green Beret. Like, this is the respectful way to sit out the national anthem, to make a statement about police brutality, and that is constantly ignored. It doesn't matter. Yeah. And the reason why it doesn't matter is because people don't really respect the movement.
Well, the thing is the people in opposition to it have twisted the message, to their they have basically uh, twist the message to people that listen to them, and basically they portray Black Lives Matters as something completely different than what it really is. And in today's very divisive world of politics, some people don't want to hear the truth. Some people want to stay in their circle and listen to what others like them say, and they're more likely to believe them than believe the truth. And that's the truth. That's what's going on. We're seeing it
Mm-hmm.
all over the United States right now.
Either that or it's actually a Marxist movement.
Yeah.
It's,
Which I started watching the Netflix series about, I don't know, the first professional soccer players or whatever. It's a BBC series though. It's not really. It's on Netflix. I need to finish watching it, but it's a reminder too that really soccer took off when it became a working class phenomenon, working class sport, not just for the rich kids who went to the Yales or whatever in England, but the working class people, and even when factory managers, factory owners started hiring players who were good to come over and work in his factory so they could be on a good team and make his team win. So it's that is that is a critique of power structures. That there's something about soccer is that it is a sport for everyone and not just for those who can afford the pads and the training equipment and everything. And of course, America's a complicated history here, but there's something about that just it's we need to go deeper on these things. We need to think a little harder. Read a book or two.
I mean, like, I don't even think it takes reading a book or two. It just takes a minute to realize, or not even a minute, like seconds to realize that your media source is trying to get you mad.
Yeah.
And once you get mad, you don't think as well when you're even keeled. It impairs your executive function. There's tons of psychiatric studies on this. It's not hard to figure out, but yet here we are.
Here we are. Well, look, let's shift back to let's talk about Friday night. FC Dallas plays Houston. I admit I didn't even look. Is it in Houston? I think it is, right? Or is it?
yeah, it is. It is, but I don't think they're going to have any fans. I don't think.
So it should be an interesting experience. I'm looking forward to it because if there's any game that this team can get up for, it has to be for Houston. So let's talk predictions. What do we think?
Well, I expect a change. I'm telling you right now that I do not want to see the two striker formation they've been running out. Finding an excuse to put Hara out there with another striker. I don't want to see that. I'd rather have a Paxton in the middle. And frankly, it seems to me seeing Paxton on the wing is an excuse to find him playing time without putting him in center. I don't know what's going on with that, but I know what I want to see is I don't want to see some of the stuff that they ran out in the first two games. And, get the win. I mean, honestly, get the win. I don't care how they get the win. I don't care if they play horrible like they did, as long as they beat Houston. And that'll go a long way towards calming some of the panic that you were seeing right now. Panic we haven't seen since, the collapse.
Yeah. See, as bad as it was this week, it's still, I'm like, it's a little early to quite talk about firing the head coach and stuff. It's like we got a couple of weeks, and we don't even know if at some point the season's going to grind to a halt again because of this pandemic. I mean, there's so many question marks. So week at a time for now to see what happens. But you're right. But if they play poorly against Houston, it'll be a tough one. Ben,
Yeah.
what do you think?
So I wasn't as torn up about the 3-5-2 alignment as some of the other folks were. I actually thought that was like a good way to attack a bunkering defense. Um, you know, the with the 3-5-2 or the 5-3-2, basically the only difference is how your very back line plays, and um, the only thing that gives me pause about FC Dallas running out of 3-5-2 is the fact that the center backs aren't really fast. Um, it would be good if Nkosi Burgess was ready to get out there and put his stake on it, because he's really speedy. So I mean, like, he would work great in that. But right now, you've got Bresson as your fastest defensive back, and I mean, he's okay, but Matt and Reto are both slow. So, that's asking for trouble. That's my big pause with it. Like, the two striker get up is good. Like, we've got good attacking strikers that you kind of want to get out on the field, but um,
Yeah.
The thing with that though is with the two strikers is you got to have that attacking midfielder to feed them the ball. Otherwise, you saw it last game. They were just basically running the same, making the same identical runs, and it's like, wait a minute, that's so much easier to defend.
well, I think we're getting into the crux of the problem here, that Acosta really is ill-fitting part at this point in time. And I'm not, again, like, I'm not like somebody who wants to like throw him under the bus, because I mean, I think he's still, a talented player who can offer a lot to the team. But at this point in the season, he does not look like he's ready to be a attacking box to box threat that he would need to be with Santos there. Whether it's a 3-5-2 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1.
I want to add that, not to break Santos up, is that Santos looked lost in the 3-5-2. He didn't play very well in that formation. But when the team reverted to the 4-3-3, we were back to seeing the Santos we saw last year, where he was, involved heavily on the defense and getting forward at times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a completely different player. The one player that stood out to me as far as improving his play, and that probably has something to do with the formation, the fact that some players are not going to be comfortable with the 3-5-2. That's just it.
And his role was simpler in a lot of ways. He was just stop the counters, and he had some good fouls and.
Exactly. I just think he just looked more comfortable, and I would rather have that. I like what Santos brings to the table, and if the 4-3-3 is what he feels comfortable in, I think that helps the defense a lot more than they going with 3-5-2 and then having the defensive mids not knowing where they're supposed to be.
Right. Yeah. In the realm of formation talk, I do agree that he looks better in that setup, and he is definitely a player at this point in the season where you kind of want to use him as a fulcrum for the team. So that is probably the best argument against the 3-5-2, in my opinion.
Well, we need to leave it there, folks. We need to wrap this up. It's been a good one. We're sort of getting back into shape ourselves, and we will be back next week to break down the Houston result and news about transfers and other goodies. So get your FC Dallas fix. Go to bigdsoccer.com. There's been some great commenting, some great conversations, some back and forth, and there's going to be more. And there'll be more throughout the week and coming up. So let's leave it there. Jose, it's good to see your face. Ben, hope to see your face next week. So
I mean, like, hopefully I can get Skype to work on my laptop. I couldn't do that tonight. I couldn't get the client to work on either machine I've got, so I'm doing it off of the web app right now.
The audio is crystal clear. It is.
Well,
nice.
Well, it should be. It's a high quality Plantronics headset that I'm rocking. So.
Okay. Well, good. All right. Well, thank you all.
And my last words is I'm looking forward to hopefully next time we're talking finding out. Hopefully by then we'll know who my new favorite European team is.
All right, that's right. That's right. All right, well, thank you all. Stay safe, everybody. Wear masks, do social distancing, and watch some FC Dallas and cheer them on. That's right. All right, we will see you on the other side.
All right.
Ciao.